About 85% of humans worldwide are right-handed. But why? Welcome to another video on human evolution. In this video, we will discuss the evolution of handedness, or in simple terms, right-handed and left-handed behavior. Archaeological evidence indicates that right-handedness can be tracked back at least 2 million years, suggesting that it was an early adaptation among hominids and therefore likely had some adaptive value. Many researchers have suggested that there is a link between handedness and the evolution of language because both involve asymmetries or lateralization in the brain. Lateralization of brain function is the tendency for some neural functions or cognitive processes to be specialized to one side of the brain or the other. But besides neurological evidence, physical evidence also gives us hints on handedness. When an individual uses one hand more than the other, making one arm dominant, the bone on the dominant arm becomes thicker in certain places in comparison to the other arm. Now, figuring out when such consistency arose in hominids is not an easy task because bone consistency or thickness cannot always be accurate even if measurable in fossils. But in small number of cases, it is possible to detect signs of handedness in early hominin fossils. Besides thickness, there are also other features to determine a dominant arm or handedness. One beautiful example is the shoulder and arm bones of the Nariokotomi boy, which is a nearly complete 1.6 million year old skeleton found in Kenya. The Nariokotomi boy was clearly right-handed as indicated by the deeper bone insertions of his deltoid muscles in his clavicle and the greater length of his ulna. Yet knowing the hand bias of one individual tells us nothing about the handedness of the population he belonged to, let alone that of his entire species. As we all know, majority of the present population is right-handed. Well, what about our ancestors, right? We cannot make any assumptions about all the way to 4 million years ago, but we can go all the way only up to the late Pleistocene. Not surprisingly enough though, according to researchers and ancestral evidence, most of the ancestral population was right-handed too. I think we are all familiar with the cave paintings of the late Pleistocene. One kind of painting which relates most to the topic today are the paintings of human hands. Now, to create that kind of painting, one would have to put one hand on the rock and use the other to paint or trace or blow the paint. Look carefully and you will notice that most of the hands in the paintings are left hands, which can only mean that the painter or painters used their right hand to create the paintings. Researchers believe that right-handedness may be linked to other traits, such as the development of language. They have long sought to find the point in hominin evolution where the right hand became dominant for the vast majority of a species. Previous research identified right hand dominance in Neanderthal fossils that were about 400,000 years old, but no one had found evidence of handedness older than that until recently. University of Kansas paleoanthropologist David Freya and colleagues were able to determine whether a 1.8 million year old hominin was dexter or sinister thanks to its teeth. Yes, its teeth. Whenever researchers find fossils, if they wanted to determine handedness, they could just look at the bones of the hands, but that is only if both hand bones are preserved. Despite a lot of exciting finds in recent years, hominin fossils tend to be fragmentary. That's why researchers look to teeth to tell the story of handedness. The technique has been used previously both by Freya and other researchers looking at Neanderthal teeth in sites from Spain to Croatia. Hominins tended to use their mouths as a kind of third hand, particularly when cutting a bite-sized or at least chewable piece of meat. Researchers believe the individual would hold a sharp-edged stone tool in its dominant hand and hold one end of a big piece of meat in its mouth and the other end in its non-dominant hand. Then, with the stone tool, the hungry hominid would saw off a piece of meat small enough to be able to chew. While sawing away at the meat, every now and then the hominin would miss and strike its teeth. Bad for the hominin, but great for science, because over time the striations, those little cuts across the outer surface of the front teeth, formed a pattern that aligns one way if you're right-handed and another if you're left-handed. This process of analyzing the marks on the teeth confirmed that 90% of the individuals analyzed were right-handed, the same proportion as modern humans. Frey's team applied the same analysis method to the teeth of a Homo habilis individual from the famed Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. And despite its age of 1.8 million years, they were able to determine that the individual was right-handed too. But more samples are needed from Homo habilis to know for sure whether this early member of the Homo genus had the same preference for right-handedness as Neanderthals and our own species. Although hand bias may be hard to detect among early hominins, there is clear evidence from the large number of available Neanderthal skeletons that our evolutionary cousins tended to be right-handed. Their right arms and shoulders show greater robusticity, possibly from throwing spears as they hunted wild animals. And studies of the teeth of both Neanderthals and Homo heidelbergensis, the presumed common ancestor of Neanderthals and modern humans, show that the direction of their striations is consistent with biting on food held in the right hand. With that, we have come to the end of the video. Do let us know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. For related videos, check our channel out as we have made tons of videos on human evolution just for you. And please do not forget to support us by liking our videos and subscribing to the channel. Till then, this is Halabella and see you soon in our next video.